BTW podcast. I am the guest host this week, Ryan Roberts. The following interview segment is brought to you by Wack Zacko. Check out his music on Facebook and SoundCloud. My guest this time is the internet champion, the one, the only, Jason Masterson. How you doing, Jason?
I've been better, Ron. Been better.
Yeah, so give me a little update on your injury.
I'm not going to talk too much about that, Ron. I'm out of the hospital. They didn't want to let me go, but I'm out of the hospital. I'm on my own 2 feet, and that's about as much as I'm willing to give out right now.
Understandable. All right. But will you make it to Devastation?
No comment. Next question.
All right. Will you make it to Heatwave?
Yes. No matter how I feel right now, no matter how I feel next week, no matter how I feel tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, no matter how I feel in 50 years, nothing will keep me from facing Kevin Ralston at BTW Heatwave. Nothing on this world, nothing in this universe, nothing that the anomalies could ever even dream of doing to me is going to keep me from Heatwave. I can guarantee you that.
All right. So we can expect to see you at Heatwave.
Absolutely.
All right. Next, we actually have some questions from the BTW universe. Question number 1 is from Taka. Why natural selection? Why is that your finishing maneuver?
When I was training, coming up in Memphis, I was told by my trainer, Justin Potter, that the number one thing that you can try to do when it comes to finishing your opponent, unless it's a submission should always come first, but the number one thing that you can try to do to knock out and incapacitate your opponent for the 3 count or the 10 count is to go for the head. Do some kind of move that's going to cause some kind of really deep impact to the head, really jar the brain, cause some bruising if you can. Just do something that's going to knock them out. And then if you can knock them out, that's all it takes is 3 seconds to get the pinfall. So when I did it, when I was trying to decide on my finisher, trying to decide the best way to put him away, I wasn't real comfortable with it because I'd always just really focused on the figure 4 leg lock and my submission holds. One day I was working in the ring and Justin just told me, hey, if you can't think of anything, just grab their face and slam them into the ground. So I did. I went with the STO, the reverse Russian leg sweep, as it were. And that's just because you can duck a clothesline and you can hit it. You can duck a right or left hand and you can hit it. You can come off the ropes and you can hit it. You can swing them out and hit it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But every way that you do it, you end up driving their face into the mat, and it usually ends up in a 3 count for me.
Understandable. And it's a very devastating move. We see that week in and week out.
Right.
Our next question comes from Zach. What does the Internet Championship mean to you?
There are a lot of people in big time wrestling right now that weren't around when it started over a year ago, but really this whole thing between myself and Kevin Ralston, it really started with the Internet Championship, and I don't want to get into the details, the grisly details of the things I've done. I've apologized. I've moved past it. But right after I beat Kevin Ralston at Hell in a Cell at Intensity, I challenged Brian Johnson for the Internet Championship. Kevin Ralston came back and he cost me that Internet Championship. I left BTW for a stint. I came back, and then I was in a ladder match for an Internet Championship briefcase, and I got costed that. I've had several opportunities in my career so far to win the Internet Championship, and much like Kevin Ralston's eventual victory over me at Grand Showcase, it was really the one thing in my career that had eluded me to no end. And my whole mantra in my career has been whatever Jason Masterson wants, Jason Masterson gets. That Internet Championship was the one thing in my career that I wasn't able to get. So then I had the opportunity in the 8-man tag team match, and when I was backstage with Dave Shirai and Blaze and Jason Silva, and they all told me, if we can get the title, we're going to get it. And I said that was perfectly fine, but they said, we're going to do everything we can to try and make sure that gold ends up on your waist so you can cross this off your list. So not only does it mean a lot because it took so much and so long for me to get it, but it also means a lot because my brothers in the Four Horsemen were there for me, and they selflessly put themselves aside and really helped me out in that match. So really, the four horsemen are the internet champions right now, not just the one and only Jason Masterson, but holding the internet championship and really bringing some legitimacy back to the title after it was in the anomalies for so long. It means a lot to me, it means a lot to the horsemen, and it means a lot to the title. So I guess you could say this is a pretty important reign.
Thank you, Masterson, for that. Also, I have another guest at this time, the leader of the anomalies, Kevin Ralston. How are you doing, Kevin?
Great.
Whoa. Let's not get to how I'm doing just yet, alright? Ryan, can I ask you a question first before we go into your dribble that you have planned?
I guess we can.
Doesn't matter if you like it or not. We're gonna do it anyway.
Okay.
I just want to know why Masterson gets, I don't know, like 20 minutes alone, and then you have me come on after.
For God's sakes. Is this really how we're going to start it, Ralston?
Oh, is that him?
Are you seriously going to step into this interview and immediately shove your whining down our throats? Can you go 5 seconds without bitching about something?
Is he on with us, Brian? Or is he like...
No, he's in here too. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really impressive. How are you, Jason?
Yeah.
It's nice to take the time to mingle with the commoners.
Yeah, thanks for that. I spent the last couple of days in the hospital, no thanks to you, so thanks for that.
Did you get the flowers I sent?
It's a real shame you couldn't actually join us in the studio. I'm sure you really wanted to be here, but with your important Canadian plans, maybe you just didn't have the balls to show up. Which one is it?
I just don't want to spend any second extra than I have to in this stage. I'm happy to...
Ryan, please, go ahead.
Alright guys, let's get this a little back on track. Actually, I have a question here for Masterson.
Oh, of course you do.
Oh, for God's sake. You know what, Ryan? You know what? Please ask a question to Kevin Ralston. Please ask him a question. Give him his bit of attention. Give him his scraps.
Those are the one and only fan favorite. Please, the floor is yours.
Oh no, please. I insist. Please ask Kevin Ralston a question.
Guys. Okay, Ralston, here's a question from Zach. What made you target Masterson?
Oh, you know what? That's typical, portraying me as the bad guy. That's typical. I like a gimmick. No.
Yeah, it's also typical portraying Lex Luthor as the bad guy or the Joker.
But 20 minutes to talk. You mind if I get a word in now? Is that okay?
Go ahead, Ralston. Get your words in. Get your words in.
No, it was actually Jason Masterson who originally targeted me on a promo I had cut about Chad Baker. And speaking of dribbling retards, Jason decided to show up, and it was good timing.
Alright, now Ryan, let me tell you what the story is really about. Let me tell you what really happened. Let me tell you what really happened. What really happened is that I cut my premiere promo. I brought up the fact that maybe Ralston wasn't such a good representation of the internet, since I'm not even sure Canada has Wi-Fi, and then he decided to jump in on my promo. He decided to jump in on me. He decided to insult me, and from that moment on is when Jason Masterson decided that there wasn't enough room in this company for both of us, and that holds true today. So there's the true story. There's two sides to every story. There's the true side and there's Kevin Ralston's side. Just remember that.
Alright guys, the next question here is from the universe, and it's actually directed towards both of you. What would a loss at Heatwave mean for you?
Well,
go ahead, Ralston. How are you going to feel when you lose at Heatwave? I'm sure the people would love to know.
You know, that's funny, because we've been over this, but I guess your hillbilly brain just doesn't know how to listen. Whatever happens at Heatwave, whether you fight my way and win, or fight your way and lose, either way, Kevin Ralston's the victor, because he pushed the hero, the golden boy, over the edge to a point where he had to incapacitate me and revert to his old self to defeat Kevin Ralston. And that really is the only way to defeat Kevin Ralston, because you have to cheat like you did the first time.
Well, let me tell you, I do not need to cheat. Secondly, let me tell you that there was no cheating in that match. If you learn how to read an American rule book and realize that there are no disqualifications in a Hell in a Cell match. And thirdly, in the alternate parallel universe where Jason Masterson loses to Kevin Ralston at BTW Heatwave, Kevin Ralston becomes the internet champion. The Horsemen die. The Anomalies live. And BTW, in no positive way whatsoever, will ever be the same again. So what happens if Jason Masterson loses at Heatwave?
Well,
what happens?
Opinion, I think what it means for you is that we finally see who the better man is. We finally see what I've been saying since a year ago when you and I first met. And that's I am the better man. And now people are finally going to listen.
your pea brain can only see so far ahead, Ralston, because it means so much more than that. If I lose, those people lose. If I lose, that title loses. If I lose, this entire company loses. So you can bet your ass that we are never going to see that alternate universe where Jason Masterson loses.
How could you be so biased? You know, what if the anomalies rising to power and me ripping that internet championship from your cold dead hands, what if that's actually a good thing? What if that's what BTW needs? You're such an egotistical maniac that you think BTW has to revolve around you. As long as Jason Masterson's on top and he's winning and he's happy, then everything is A-okay. But as soon as somebody pushes him back and somebody wants to take things from him, it's catastrophe, it's anarchy, it's the apocalypse.
And once again, your warped sense of reality has led to two sides of the story. My side and your bullshit side. Ryan, will you please get us back on track, please?
Yes, please, Ryan. Get us back.
All right, guys. Here's another question from the BTW universe. What is your most memorable moment of this feud?
Yeah, hey Kevin, which time that I beat your ass is the most relevant to you or most memorable? I'd really like to know.
Okay. Well, there was the time you returned and kicked my ass in Chicago. Oh no, wait, that one was me. I kicked your ass. There was the time I beat the piss out of your little brother Jason Silva and made him.
Still owe you for that one, by the way, but continue.
Oh yeah, trust me, I'm really scared. And man, I could just go on. But I'm already embarrassing you enough as it is. So it's your turn to answer the question.
Yeah, we all know that you could go on. We know that you could go on and on and on and on. We could make a walking trek through every province in Canada before you ever finish talking. We already know that. What we don't know is what the most memorable moment of this feud is to Jason Masterson. I'll tell you what, Ron, I'll tell you the answer to that. And I'm sure that's not the only thing you're itching from, you and your Canadian women up there. But if you're really itching that well to know, I'll tell you. The most memorable moment, my cousins would whoop your ass easier than I could. The most memorable moment of this feud has not...
If you're gonna think that.
Guys. Come on. Let's
let me answer your question before we get carried away in this Canadian storm that we got going on over here. The most memorable moment of this feud has not happened yet. Sure, we could remember me throwing Kevin Ralston off of a cell through a table. Sure, we could remember me becoming the internet champion and the Horsemen defeating the Anomalies. Sure, we could remember me embarrassing he and his entire family for the entire world to see over the course of a month. But I'll tell you what, the most memorable moment of this feud when all is said and done is the end of it. When we go to Heatwave and I once again beat your ass when it's one-on-one. I hold that title into the air, the light glares off of the belt into your beady little eyes, and you look up, and you know that once and for all, you have lost. You think anything we've done so far has been memorable, Ralston? Everyone is going to remember that, and that is going to be etched into your brain for the rest of your insignificant life.
Wow.
You Canadian, mouth-breathing miscreant.
Wow, that was very poetic, and you threw it back to the old miscreant line. I really appreciate that little shout out to better times.
Yeah, well, hashtag Throwback Thursday, hashtag fuck Kevin Ralston. Next question, please.
Yeah. Okay, this one is another question from the BTW universe. Could we ever see a tag team between Jason Masterson and Kevin Ralston?
No.
Alrighty then. The last question we have here, is this match at Heatwave going to be the end?
You tell me, Kevin. Is this it? You're the one who keeps dragging this back out of the mud. You tell me.
You see, probably my favorite movie of all time, The Dark Knight. And one of the best moments in that movie is when the Joker looks into Batman's eyes and he laughingly says, "You and I are destined to do this forever." Now, whoever you think the bad guy is, whether you think I'm Batman or you're Joker or vice versa, Jason, you know as well as I do that this is never over. And the day it is the day we are both gone from wrestling forever.
No, I'll tell you when this is over, Kevin. And I'll tell you an exact date. BTW Heatwave. Kevin Ralston, Jason Masterson 3. Internet Championship. This match that we're building to, all of this hype, all of the vignettes, all of the promos, this interview, this build, this is what we call a climax. This is what we call building towards the end of a story that has been going on since last March. And this ends this month. Heatwave, when I either pin you to the mat or I wrap your legs into a fucking pretzel and I pull so hard that within your brain, you are going to hear your kneecaps pop. You're going to hear your calf muscles release themselves from your legs. Your tendons are going to snap.
Oh, please, I want to release myself from this interview.
And I'll tell you one thing right now, Kevin. You can make all of the sarcastic comments you want. Because I know you. You're right. We are Batman and Joker. And I know you better than anybody in this company. Your brother that I beat the shit out of for 3 weeks doesn't know you better than I do, Kevin Ralston.
I agree.
And behind that facade, behind that smile, behind that pretty boy look that you have on your face every time I talk, behind your laughs, you are scared to death. And at Heatwave, you face your biggest fear. And that biggest fear, Kevin Ralston.
Okay, hang on.
That biggest fear, you let me finish. I'm the one and only Jason Masterson, and you will let me, by God, finish.
Oh yeah.
You will face your biggest fear. And your biggest fear is that you don't have what it takes. And when you realize that is when this book closes. Then and only then does this end. And now you may speak.
Oh, you're done? You're done.
Oh, I'm finished.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Oh, good, because I tuned out about 2 minutes ago. Now, I want to ask you a question, Jason.
I'm listening.
Are you?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Good. What exactly do you think I'm afraid of? Because going into this match, I have absolutely nothing to lose. And maybe I have to say it 58 more times for you to finally get it. Whether you wrestle my way and win, or wrestle your way and lose, either way, Kevin Ralston is the one that comes out on top. And you are the sad shell of a man that you always have been, whether it's with the Internet Championship or without it, with the Horsemen or without them. You know that no matter what happens at Heatwave, there is no possible way you can win.
My final word on this is that the only time that your name is going to come out on top is at the top of your fucking epitaph. Ryan.
That's a good one. I like that.
Well, guys, I know. Are we finished?
No, please don't let him keep talking. Please. Go, Ryan.
I know both of y'all have said several times now that you were done with this interview, Ralston more than Masterson, because he's, well...
If you call Ralston one more time without a mister in front of it, I'm going to kick your teeth.
Yeah, that's it. Threaten an interviewer. Threaten a journalist, Kevin Ralston. Go ahead. Do what you do.
Don't worry. I'll kick yours in, too.
Oh, will you? Will you? Well, then, if you're going to keep my teeth down my throat, why aren't you here in the studio with us?
Guys.
What?
Jade told me that to end it like he always does, and that is to open the floor, usually to his one guest, but now I have two, so I'm opening it up to both of y'all. Just any last comments, any last words that y'all have, it's yours.
Yeah, my final comments are to buy your Kevin Ralston t-shirts now, because after this Sunday, they are going to be worth millions. Your name is going to be infamous. Yeah, they're going to be worth millions, because after Heatwave, you're not going to be able to buy a Kevin Ralston t-shirt.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to be gone, Kevin. Keep laughing, Kevin. Keep laughing. You're going to be gone.
I'll laugh all the way to Heatwave and back, you son of a bitch.
Do you have anything left to say? Anything of relevance? What's the temperature in Canada right now? How cold are you? Are your balls that small because you're scared or you're cold? Which one is it?
The temperature where I am is actually 31 degrees. But at Heatwave, Jason, it's just gonna be so good.
I'll tell you what, why are we waiting until Heatwave, Kevin? Where are you? Where are you right now?
Where am I?
I'll buy my own plane ticket. Where are you?
You've been the last couple days in a hospital.
I've been in the hospital, you son of a bitch, because you can't fight your own battles.
Because I put you there.
Yeah, but TJ Shadows popped out of the corner and kicked my teeth down my throat, which I'm sure you had no idea was happening, right?
You from sticking the horsemen on me.
My horsemen were nowhere to be found. You cowardly bastard. Your Fisher and Shadows jumped out of the shadows, kicked my teeth down my throat. I didn't even know they were coming. Why don't you fight a one-on-one battle? And when this one-on-one battle does happen, you're going to know that you need Shadows, you need Fisher.
See, that's the difference between you and me. People follow me because of how great I am. And people fight alongside you because
people follow you because you make bullshit promises. People follow you because you promise us gold at the end of the rainbow that they're never going to find. The only thing they're going to find is a loss and disappointment. Do you understand me, Kevin? No, let me tell you one more thing, Kevin Ralston. I'm listening to you talk this whole time. No, I'm sick of listening to it. I'm sick of it.
I'm sick of listening.
No, where the fuck are you, Kevin? I'm not waiting until Heatwave to settle this.
I've been sitting here this whole time.
Where are you? You haven't given me a location.
Looking back at the beginning of this and how life was, just you and me and loving all of our friends, living life like an ocean. But now the current's only pulling me down. It's getting harder to breathe.
Welcome back, one and all, to the Big Time Wrestling Podcast. I am back from getting my beer, or whatever excuse we're using for me not being around during that last interview. My name is Jade Lowe. I'm the host of your BTW podcast. As you've already met, my co-host for this week and very good friend, Ryan Roberts. So Ryan, how was it sitting in between Masterson and Ralston there? Did you feel like you were going to lose your head?
Sparks were flying. Let's just say Smokey the Bear would not be happy.
So we'll pretend like the entire interview took place in the forest then. Ryan, a lot of people may recognize your voice as the voice of a BTW superstar. We won't get into that, but a lot of people watching or listening to the BTW podcast may not know a heck of a lot about Ryan Roberts himself. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, more specifically, when did you get into wrestling, how did you get into it, and how did you find yourself hosting the BTW podcast now?
Well, I got into wrestling probably whenever I was about 10, maybe 12 years old. I saw, actually a promo build-up between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker.
Yeah.
For, I think it was WrestleMania 26.
Okay.
Maybe 25, one of the two. It was one of those two. I remember it was amazing. Oh, it was 26 because Michael's career was on the line.
Yeah, both of them were great.
And I fell in love with the fact of it. And then actually a good friend of mine, kind of saw that I liked wrestling and we started to talk about it. And I just got more and more into it. And then about almost a year ago now, Jade, you, my, I guess, co-host right now.
Yeah.
Introduced me into BTW and I fell in love with it and now I'm here.
Awesome. So now you know a little bit about Ryan Roberts and his history, and he's from around the same part of the country I'm from, Northeast Arkansas, so we actually do get to hang out a lot. So if we have a little more chemistry than me and some of my older co-hosts, that's the only reason. We live within 40 minutes of each other, so we continue on with the show and we will discuss Levolution. Now, it's no secret what's going on with Big Time Wrestling's Levolution lately. We have a bit of a crisis on the writing front, on the booking front. Our bookers and our writers have gone on hiatus for whatever reason. I'm hearing that they're sick, so hopefully they can get better. But we are under new leadership, at least for the time being. The King of the Hill pay-per-view has been canceled, pushed back. We've yet to see if that's going to be brought back in later on. It's hard to imagine pushing every other pay-per-view back or every other show back to put the pay-per-view in its place. But we will have Levolution live from Studio 21 on the 21st. The Iron Man title tournament continues. We've got Sidney Wicket against the Bombali Mensah. We've got a tables match, Bo Dallas versus Josh Steinberg. We've got Hardcore Rules, Will Wagner versus Shane Black. hardcore rule match between Christopher Andrews and Carson Callahan. That is not part of the tournament. Then we have a hardcore championship match. TB2 faces a mystery opponent. And then we've got a television championship match, which should be very interesting, Ryan. It's going to be Team TNA versus Team Renegades versus Team Cena. The champion, Mr. Hollywood, defending against Big Country, Chris Chambers. So out of those three men, who do you see walking out as the champion?
Looking at it, man, I mean, I don't know who all to pick. I'm gonna have to throw out Big Country, though. He's a hard worker. And you know what? Why not throw in a wild card? I feel like being wild tonight.
Chris Chambers is probably the hungriest of the three, so I'd give that advantage to him. Mr. Hollywood has all the confidence going in, and Big Country has the size. So it's going to be really interesting to see who can better take advantage of the advantage that they have over the other two men. I'm going to pick Mr. Hollywood to retain. I don't think Mr. Hollywood loses the title just yet. There's no telling who TB2's mystery opponent is going to be for the Hardcore Championship, but as he's proven in the past, a few weeks, he's just as dangerous no matter who he's facing. So it'll be interesting to see who his victim will be that week. As far as the Iron Man title tournament, like I said, we've got Sidney Wicked, Abominably Mensah, Bo Dallas, Steinberg. My pick to win, Will Wagner, Shane Black, left in the tournament. So as I said, we already know who my pick was to win. It was Will Wagner. So out of those men, which name sticks out to you?
You know, Jade, I'm looking at the list. I'm going over.
Oh, and I'm sorry, we've got Iris Cena and Eric Morrow in a ladder match in the tournament as well. I'm sorry, I overlooked that.
Well, I'm looking at all these contestants, and I'm just going over and over and over. And all of them have heart, but do all of them believe enough?
Oh God! You cannot seriously be picking Bo Dallas to win this tournament.
Heck, no, I'm not. I'm picking Thu's first round.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But they have to believe in order to go on. But no, it's hard for me to choose. But I think I'll go with Sidney Wicked on this one.
Okay, he's definitely fit for this type of tournament, these type of rules. So him being the Ironman champion, that would not surprise me in the least. At the end of the night, it looks like we get the young, the hungry T Dynamite of Team Cena, and he gets a match against the World Heavyweight Champion Prodigy. So what do you think? You think the rookie can stand a chance against the champion here?
He's young, he's hungry, but can he deal with the experience of Prodigy is the question. And when it all comes down to it, I have to say no.
And when it comes below that, not only is the experience there for Prodigy, but he's also got Sinister waiting in the background, the Monster Lamia, the Dark Savior, all of those guys waiting in the wings. So even if he can counter the experience, we'll see if the numbers game catches up with him at all. And as we change gears here, we're going to talk about BTW New Rising. I would like to announce that this week's BTW podcast Weekend Review is brought to you by Silverado Drive. They're a country acoustic band, have plenty of music on YouTube, and hey, I'm the singer. So go to YouTube, look up Silverado Drive, their music channel on YouTube. Check out all the covers and all of the original country and alternative rock that they have on there. And hey, if you like the music, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Continuing on with the week here on New Rising, New Rising action is returning. We have New Rising's Supercard coming up on August 18th. A lot of great matches here. Crypt has accepted the open challenge by Dwayne Awesome. We got some diva action, if you want to call it that, women action. We have a interesting read, just Tank versus Tough Enough Crusher. I mean, that may be a huge match there. Huge names, it may be a huge match. We've got Mark Jernigan versus Mick White. That'll be a qualifying match for the number one contendership for the Omega Championship. Jay Evans and when I butcher this last name, Llewellyn, versus, the nice guy, the prototype, Sidney Tennant and Jeremy Brock. Now that match is scheduled as a qualifying match for the number one contendership for the New Rising Tag Team titles, but Ryan, that match has gotten a lot of hype this week. Starting out, no one really knew who these guys were, but now all of a sudden people are looking forward to this match.
Yes, I mean, like you said, looking at this at the beginning of the week, it was a bunch of no-names, but now, closer to the end of the week, it's blown up, and it is huge, and I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, and that's what you like to see in BTW, and especially New Rising. You go out there, no one knows who you are, and then you go out there and you cut promos like these guys have, and you just steal the show from everybody. And that is what I think we need to see more of from New Rising, or guys willing to go out there, disregard everybody else on the card and just go out there and steal the show no matter what position you're at on the card.
That is all it is about, is stealing the show, and that goes back to a former tag team champions in NXT or in New Rising, I should say, the show stealers.
Yeah, I remember those guys. Yeah, I seem to recall the mass show stealers.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, New Rising, it's just grown and grown and grown, and it's so promising looking down at it now and seeing all of these matches, and it's just, like you said, that's what you like to see, is your future being that promising, and I'm looking forward to it.
Continuing on with the card, on the super card, we have Alex Adams versus, again, forgive me when I butcher this name, Shu Yin Schlegel in a submission match. Ralph Marks, a new rising star, a name that's on everybody's lips, going against Josh Styles in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Raven Ryder versus Toxin Madison in a Falls Count Anywhere women's match. We will see the new GM be interviewed, and then in the main event, Radomir versus Trent Over in a backlot brawl, and if Radomir wins, he will be inserted into the number 1 contenders tournament for Trent Over's New Rising Championship. There will also be more appearances by your favorite New Rising stars, new merch, and much, much more, along with some surprises. This match is really going to make up for some lost time, as we've really missed New Rising over the past number of weeks. And I gotta say, the one match that really sticks out to me is that tag team match. I can't wait to see that. But there are a lot of big names coming up out of New Rising. Ralph Marks and Mick White, all the great women's talent that we desperately need on the main roster. Who is someone that you've seen in New Rising that stuck out to you?
I mean, I see name after name that is just, like you said, Ralph Marks, and some of the others that you said. We are women, how we desperately need some more. I mean, that tag team match, just those 4 men have really stuck out there and really have kind of shown and made a name for themselves in this past week. And it's really impressive to watch.
Alright, moving on from New Rising to Devastation. Now, last week, Devastation was really the only show in BTW to have a show. So we actually have some to talk about there, and Ryan, one of the matches that everybody is talking about is the match that stole the show, the match of Devastation that many are calling a mid-year candidate for match of the year. The man you just spoke with, Kevin Ralston, just narrowly escaping with a victory over Michael Johnson. How fun was that to watch?
That was amazing to watch. I was on the edge of my seat the entire match. Michael Johnson, I mean, Ralston is occupied with the 4 Horsemen and more or less with Masterson. And Michael Johnson took offense to the burning of the American flag. And he stood up and he called Ralston out on it. And he delivered. Yes, he lost, but he was impressive in that match.
Yeah, and after that match, it was the first time in a long time that we've seen Kevin Ralston show anyone any semblance of respect since the Grand Showcase. So
you talk about OMG moments.
Yeah.
That was one of them right there.
And this night was full of OMG moments, including in the main event, that mixed tag team match turned into chaos, between Jackson Ellis and Misbehavior versus Keisha and General Spike. Moose Knuckles got involved and did what she did. So those 2 rivalries are really heating up. Jason Masterson got his revenge against TJ Shadows, and then in the No Singu Numachi, whatever it was called in that.
What's that?
Shut up. In that hardcore weapons match, Jason Masterson was able to make TJ Shadows tap. All of that is building towards the upcoming Go Home show, the last episode of Devastation before BTW Summer Classic Heatwave. And obviously we've got some great New Rising talent that we just discussed in the pre-show. But then on the main card, we've got A-Star versus Vinnie Brash. We've got Keisha Jones versus Faith Elmore. Faith will have Misbehavior at ringside. Number 1 contenders match that everyone's looking forward to after last week. Not only is the New Rising tag team division heating up, but so is the Devastation tag team division. We've got the Spawns of Satan, Dark Dread and Damien, going against Dave Shirai and Jay Blaze, Shirai and Blaze, with everything going on with Silva, Masterson, Ralston, Shadows, Shirai, Blaze, and Fisher have really been lost in the fold here, and they haven't really had a direction. They've had their partners' backs, but they haven't had a lot to say about it. Well, this week, Shirai and Blaze changed that. They came out, they told Dark Dread and Damien that they weren't going to just take the tag team championships from Matt Stevens and Vinny Brash, and so we have a number one contenders match. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, Dave Shirai and Jay Blaze stepping out and declaring that they are getting those titles is just something that I really looked forward to and really saw as an epic thing for them to do. This match against the Spawns of Satan, these guys give me the heebie-jeebies, if you will.
Yeah, they're creepy.
I don't know.
Yeah, especially now that we got Maul Sidious in the fold, as if we needed any more freaking monsters on Devastation.
Seriously.
So it's going to be really fun to see who. I mean, I said in my last review kind of the show, I said that BTW's tag team division hasn't been this good since 450 Shades of Black. Judas Black and Cash Wilson held the tag team titles. You think about it, back then we had 450 Shades of Black, and we had the Disciples running around both brands, and we had what am I trying to say here? Big T's Revolution. We had Drake Manson and Brody Dahmer running around, causing chaos, and we just had all these teams that had different weaknesses and different strengths and different ways of promoing, going at each other. And now that we see Mac and Brash as the tag team champions with their big, boastful style, and then we see Dark Dread and Damien with their creepy worms in the mouth, all hail Satan ceremonies that they got going on out there, and then we have Shirai and Blaze with their comedic confidence. It really does display in this one angle all of the different kinds of talent that BTW has, and this all comes back with Shirai and Blaze to going out and stealing the show and taking your spotlight. So, getting back to the match, who's your pick to walk out as the number one contenders and face Vinny Brash and Mac Stevens for the tag team titles at Heatwave?
I mean, it does matter who comes out, but whoever does come out, it has a huge challenge in Mac Stevens and Vinny Brash trying to get those titles from them. I mean, yes, you have the monsters, the worm eaters, the whatever you just said.
Whatever I just said, yeah.
And the Spawns of Satan. And also, like you said, you have the comedic confidence of Dave Shirai and Jay Blaze. It's really hard to say because you have two really determined guys, and then you have guys who eat worms. And it's tough to say because the Spawns of Satan are just running wild with this right now. But then again, Dave Shirai and Jay Blaze just have that edge, and I have to pick them for going over the Spawns of Satan.
And before the fans tear me apart, yes, I know the Spawns of Satan have never actually eaten worms on live television, but I wouldn't doubt if they do it just at home without the cameras on, having lunch. Oh, let's have some tea and worms, shall we? Apparently they're British now. But we'll see if Shirai and Blaze are affected by the mind games. That's what it all comes down to. If they can withstand the mind games of the Spawns of Satan, the Horsemen here have every available chance and every skill necessary to walk out as the number one contender. So that'll be fun to watch. In the second of three straight tag team matches of the night, we have the Punk Rock Prophet, Judas Black. Oh yeah! Teaming with Blade or Ty Jax, depending on who decides to show up to the match. And they'll be taking on the returning Duke Jacobs and Mike Moore in a tag team match. So a lot of fun going on with those four guys. A lot of huge activity. Judas Black is on a roll. Blade doesn't know who he is. Duke Jacobs is back and better than ever. Mike Moore is back and better than ever with Lucius Freeman at the helm. So, just for fun, let's pick a winner in that match, Ryan. Who you got? Blade / Ty Jax and Judas Black, or Duke Jacobs and Mike Moore?
Duke Jacobs and Mike Moore. Duke Jacobs is back and with more aggression than I've ever seen, and he is just running wild, and I love it.
Yeah, Judas Black, I'm gonna have to go with Jacobs and Moore too, because Judas Black doesn't know who he's gonna be teaming with in there, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it's like he's got two guys at the ring that are interchanging at the apron. So, I would easily go with Blade and Judas Black if it was Blade of old and Judas Black, but since Blade can't seem to decide who he is, I'm gonna use that indecision and mental instability, as it were, as a weakness here, and I'm going to go with Duke Jacobs and Mike Moore. Then we then have the returning fan favorite DC Zamchan versus DJK. Huge contest right before the main event. So what do you see happening here?
Oh man, this is huge. Like you said, I mean, returning DC in DJK. It's just I can't explain it. It's huge.
DJK. As easy as DCZ. Sorry, there's a lot of letters going on here. I had to point that out. It's just a fun match because DJK is the ultimate bad guy. He's such an asshole. Nobody likes DJK. Even if you like DJK, you don't really like DJK. And it's fun to see that guy lose. But then the thing about it is he doesn't lose often. He's great in that ring. He's just as good in the ring as he is on the mic. So, that is just going to be such a fun match to watch. And that is actually my early pick for next week's match of the week. Even with Levolution returning and with the super card going on New Rising. That's going to be my early pick for match of the week is DC Zamchan versus DJK. You can bank on that. Main event, champion versus champion. Two of the hottest guys in BTW right now. Michael Johnson, the international champion, against the BTW champion, Jackson Ellis. Now, obviously, General Spike will be on commentary. Shenanigans might happen, but let's pretend, Ryan, that shenanigans are not going to happen. What are your thoughts on this huge gold versus gold championship?
It's huge, like you said, and of course, shenanigans probably will happen, but just to, put things in perspective, let's say they won't, like you said, I still have to go with Michael Johnson. His grit, his determination, and his just confidence I feel like pushes him further and further and further. Jackson Ellis, yes, he's big, yes, he's strong, but I feel like Michael Johnson can pull this out.
I feel like Michael Johnson has all of the tools necessary to beat Jackson Ellis. I don't think anyone who doubts Michael Johnson doing anything is talking out of their ass. Michael Johnson is one of the, he doesn't just call himself the workhorse for show. Michael Johnson is one of the hardest working men in BTW. He's the international champion for a reason. And Jackson Ellis has a tendency to kind of overlook his opponents, and I'm not saying that he always does that, but I'm just saying Jackson Ellis is confident. And he's confident in his power, his strength, his ability. So he cannot get too focused on General Spike looking out there at the announce booth, because if he allows himself to be distracted from Michael Johnson for 1 second, Michael Jackson will do the moonwalk on him. No, Michael Johnson will though walk all over Jackson Ellis if Jackson Ellis looks away for 1 second. So Ellis has really got to keep focused there.
You could say Michael Johnson will go in there and be a smooth criminal with the win.
Oh, good Lord. We need to move on with the show. Oh, if I could cue a sound effect there, I would. Jesus. Moving on, our Q&A portion of the show is brought to you by Intelligent Wrestling Talk. It's a Facebook group specifically dedicated to those who want to enjoy talking about wrestling, WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, Indies, anything you want to talk about regarding wrestling without the worry of spam, without the worry of advertisements, and without the worry of idiots interrupting your enjoyment of the chat. So if you're not a part of Intelligent Wrestling Talk, IWT, why the hell aren't you? Head on over and join on all the fun and discussing all of the in-ring action all over the world on Intelligent Wrestling Talk.
Can you
so moving on,
put intelligent and WWE in the same sentence?
It's hard to do, but yes, we do. I've been a part of Intelligent Wrestling Talk for several years now. It's a really fun group. We do top 10 lists. We actually had our own podcast over there at one time. We haven't done it in a while, but we do weekly chats for TNA and WWE shows, and we talk about any and everything wrestling. So head on over and join. Moving on to the Q&A session of tonight's episode of the podcast, brought back to you by IWT. The first question we have is from Chris White. Ryan, what do you think, and this is kind of a broad question, so I'll be a little more specific, which is your favorite faction in BTW across the entire spread right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was signing up for Intelligent Wrestling.
Oh, look at that. Look at a plug.
Yeah, okay. No, my favorite faction, it's tough to say because you have so many, like you said. I mean, it's just really hard to say. I know I'm probably a little biased and I'm probably going to get hate for it, but I mean, the Four Horsemen right now, I mean, it's just, I love their look and I love their comedic side as well. It kind of gives you a little bit of a laugh, but at the same time, you see their energy, you see their drive, you see their determination, and I just love watching it.
Yeah, you also have to talk about Team TNA when it comes to the top factions in BTW. They're violent, they're tough, they're charismatic, their togetherness, their cohesion is off the charts. So anytime you talk about top factions, you have to talk about TNA.
And Team Cena, let's throw it out there.
Yeah, Team Cena may not be a team for very much longer, though.
Yeah, it's dysfunctional, but man, dysfunction is what you need sometime.
Another question from Chris White. Ryan, do you think New Rising is a good starting point for all of the superstars in BTW?
Yes, 110%. I support New Rising. I am a huge supporter. I see talent down there, and I've seen talent that has been down there that has moved up. I mean, your current tag team champions, Max Stevens and Vinny Brash, were at one point in New Rising. And, I mean, look at them now. New Rising is a perfect place to start, and I am loving what I see down there. And whenever these people move up, I'm excited to see what is in store.
And that was well said. I mean, you look at all the guys that were champions in New Rising, Bruce Fisher, Bill Cage, Jason Silva, Jay Blaze, Dorian Cage, the old Fighting Irish, Mickey Mead and Alex O'Hanley. And the argument that people like to make is, oh, well, these guys were good before New Rising. New Rising is just a waste of time. But I'll tell you what right now, New Rising is not to test your talent. We can tell after one promo, I promise you, the guys in charge of calling people up to the main roster can tell after one promo if you are going to be good enough to make it on the main roster. New Rising is not there to test how good you are. New Rising is there to test how dedicated you are. New Rising is there to test how well you lose. New Rising is there to test how active you're going to be during any particular rivalry, whether it be main, middle, or lower card. New Rising is there to make sure that you are not just in it for the wins. You are not just in it for the championships. You are in it for the love of e-fetting and for the love of wrestling. And everyone that has ever come up through New Rising and made themselves a champion has had that drive, has had that good attitude that we look for. And guess what? Everyone who's had a bad attitude, they're gone. Because even if they're talented, we don't want them in BTW. That's kind of the point. So regardless of how talented you are, you will start in New Rising, and you will prove to everyone that you deserve to be on the main roster, not with your talent, but with your attitude. So yeah, and that's a hot topic for debate, but we can move on from that.
Get off your soapbox.
Get off the soapbox. I'm sorry. I just that's something that I have focused on before, and anytime I have a chance to talk about it, I like to. So,
I mean, coming from someone, am I allowed to break kayfabe here? I guess.
yeah, go ahead. I
mean, the character that I portray, yes, I did start out in New Rising, and I mean, whenever I was intimidated. This was my first EFED experience, period, and New Rising. You know, it was just for me, it was just an honor to be in BTW and to start this. And as I worked up, I mean, I was doing awesome. I mean, I was the New Rising champ in a month, I think it was. I don't really remember. I mean, but then I lost it within 2 weeks, I think. And I was confused, but at the same time, like Jade said, it's to see how well you lose, how dedicated you are, and everything like that. So take it from someone who's been in New Rising. It is worth the wait, and you will get your time to shine, I promise.
Well said. Last question here as part of our Silverado Drive Q&A session. If you could build a super card, what matches off the top of your head? If you could form any match possible from anybody across the board on all three brands, what matches could you see being on your super card?
Ouch. Ooh.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, here, How about we kind of just throw out you throw out a match, then I'll throw out a match.
Well, one match that I would definitely throw out there, just for some reason that I've always really wanted to see happen, it would be Christopher Andrews, going one-on-one with Dave Shirai. I think the back and forth between those two would be epic, and then the in-ring action would be comparable to any great match that you would ever see in your life. So that'd be one match that I'd have on the card.
Oh man. I mean, you talk about supercards. It's hard to talk about a supercard without having a Masterson and Ralston match on it.
Yeah, I doubt anybody's going to pick that because they're probably tired of seeing it by now. But I mean, yeah.
I know it's been going on for 17 months, but man, it is gold every time I see it. But I mean, other people may not put it on there, but man, it's hard for me, like I said, to not to go without one.
I think if I were to put Jason Masterson on the card, I would want him to go against something that he's never faced before. I would put him against TB2, honestly. I would do Jason Masterson versus TB2. I think the differences in attitude, the differences in persona, the differences in style, the clash really between the two, they have almost nothing in common. I think that would be a really fun match to watch. As far as Kevin Ralston, instead of putting him against Masterson, I think I would do Kevin Ralston versus Xavier because that's something we've seen a lot less of. Those two seem to really bring out the best in each other and the worst in each other. So if I were to put Kevin Ralston against anybody, I think I would put him against Darth Xavier.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You got another match you want to throw out there?
A guy from New Rising, or there's a couple guys from New Rising, obviously. I would want to see Trent over on the show. Ralph.
Trent over, definitely, man. He is he's over, if you will.
Yeah. The pun show continues. Mick White, I think, I would want to see up on the super card. I don't know who I'd put him against. I'd probably put him against, maybe new Rising Blood against old New Rising Blood. Maybe, Jay Blaze or Jason Silva versus Mick White. I think it would be a good one. RJ Grimm versus Ralph Marks would be an interesting matchup.
I mean, a super card of BTW is just impossible to make, I feel, because there's so much great talent and so many different angles that you'd love to see that you just can't fit it all on one card unless you want that card to last the whole freaking week.
Yeah, and we would have to dedicate, in order to build this card, we would have to dedicate an entire episode of the podcast to doing that. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and I would, if, in all seriousness, to do something like that, I mean, I would want to study up and I would bust out like notes and I'd get it epic up in here, if you will.
Yeah, that's another guy, Johnny Epic Douglas, and Shane Black and DJ K and Judas Black. There's just so many guys that and everyone listening knows who my favorite guys are and who I would love to see in a match and who I mark out for. So we have to move on, but just because I didn't mention your name, obviously, maybe one of these days we'll do an entire podcast dedicated to putting together a super card for BTW. But until then, we move on. So, hey, Ryan, we're approaching the end of the show here. Was there anything that happened in BTW this week that we didn't touch on or something we didn't talk about enough that you want to talk about, or you think we got it pretty well covered?
No, not really, but I can't really think of anything much.
Alright, so, our superstars of the week, I'm going to go with DJ K, just because he hasn't gotten it yet, and, I mean, on the mic and in the ring, DJ K always does enough every week to at least be considered for our superstar of the week. So because of the role that he's on and because of where he's headed, what he's doing, and just because we're getting a huge episode of DJK TV this week, I'm going to go with DJK as my superstar of the week.
All right, Jade, whenever you wake up in the morning, your alarm goes off, you have to put on your uniform and you have to go to fill in the blank.
Work.
And then, cowboys used to ride a
horse. Okay, I get where you're going here.
Horse. Johnson, baby. He is just day in and day out. He is a work hard.
That's interesting though. So even coming off of a loss, he's still your superstar of the week.
Yes, I mean, even after a loss, I mean, he took Kevin Ralston almost to his limit.
He took him all the way to his limit and over it, I think.
It was, and like I said, that match had me on the edge of my seat. I loved every second of it. And Michael Johnson just impressed me. And then to get Kevin Ralston to show the slightest bit of respect, you deserve an award. So, I mean, this is the best I can give you, bud.
Yeah, and our match of the week, obviously, I think we're going to go with Kevin Ralston versus Michael Johnson. Match of the year candidate, obviously. So we're getting towards the end of the show here. I want to thank Wack Zacko, Silverado Drive, and Intelligent Wrestling Talk for sponsoring this week's episode of the Big Time Wrestling Podcast. For my co-host this week, Ryan Roberts, I am Jade Lowe. We will see you right here next week. Same bat time, probably a different bat time, actually, because we do this a different time every week. But either way, we will...
Switch consistent.
We will see you next week. Take care, guys.
See ya.